Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to take your guitars from this to this. Okay, so what is editing? Editing is the process of perfecting your source tone, whether that's through time shifting or pitch correction. It's using any tool in the book to get the source tone sounding great. For guitar, this tends to be shifting notes on time that are off time, fixing up sloppy playing, getting rid of weird buzzes and artifacts, and overall just polishing the guitar sound. Why should you want to even bother editing your guitars? As you heard from that demonstration, sloppy guitars can really ruin a mix. It makes the mix sound unprofessional, unfocused, and just overall sloppy, and no one wants to hear that. Especially with metal, it's a genre that's really focused around precision, and if there's a pattern being played, it should be played practically perfectly, or else it's not going to be able to compete with other songs. Now before we get into any editing techniques, let's go over the anatomy of a guitar note. So every guitar note has three parts to it. A guitar note has a start, a middle, and an end. The start is the transient or the pick attack. It's where the pick first meets the string. The middle is the sustain of the note, and it's always going to be the loudest peak. And the end is the decay. That's where the note fizzles out towards the end. It's important to know these three things when aligning a guitar note to the grid. A lot of people will make the mistake of aligning the sustain or the highest peak to the grid line. But that's not what you want to do. You want to line up the pick attack. So this guy right here, you want to line to the beat. This is really important because if you have your sustain in the middle here, then basically everything's going to be rushed because your pick attack, you're hitting the note before the beat every time. So that's something you really want to avoid. You want that pick attack right on the downbeat. With that out of the way, we can move on to our first editing technique, slip editing. To perform a slip edit, first hold down the Alt key, which will bring up the scissor tool, and click on either side of the guitar note. Now that you've made your cut, you can hold down the Control and Alt key at the same time, and then left click and drag to slip the note around within the clip. So now that we know the anatomy of a guitar note, we know that this is the pick attack right here, and we want to align that to the beat. Just like that. So this note is technically on time now, and we can move on to the next one. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these three. Again, I'm making a cut, clicking it, holding Control and Alt, dragging it, looking for the pick attack, aligning that to the beat. Just going to turn on snap again so I can see where my beat is. There we go. This one's also rushed. We're going to drag this over, Control and Alt. This one's a little bit rushed. We're going to drag that. So you can always see that my big sustain spike is after the beat. Every time. If I click here, again, it's not right here. That would be rushed. It's here. The pick attack is on the beat. So this is slip editing. It's good for making fast cuts on the fly, but it's not personally my favorite. My favorite editing technique is using audio warp. To use audio warp, double click on your clip, and then in the top left corner, you'll see all these tabs. Click on the one that says audio warp, and then click this little arrow, free warp. So this method is a little different than slip editing. This method involves warping and stretching your audio. So say we want to work on this section here. I'm going to start off by left clicking on either side. This ensures that any edits we do within these borders will leave the rest unaffected. So let's start off with this first note. Since I know this is the pick attack just by looking at it, I'm going to create a warp marker on it. Again, just left click and then drag. Right here is where we want it to be. We just put it on time. So now this one, is supposed to be right here. As you can see, it's rushed again. So we're going to create another warp marker on the pick attack and drag. This next note is a little late, if anything. So we're going to bring that back. This one is a bit rushed. We're going to bring that back. So now these 4 notes are bang on time. If we want to do this section after it, we can go ahead and click on the pick attack, drag it to where it needs to be, and do the same for the rest of these notes. There we go. That's essentially all slip editing is. I'm going to go ahead and go through all these, and then I'll catch up with you.
We all make it. Open your eyes.
Now that I've audio warped all the guitars in this section, let's hear how it sounds. Okay, so it sounds pretty good, but we can take this a step further. The next technique we're going to apply is called manual gating. Manual gating is where you clean up the silence in between each note. I'll do it here on this section. We can compare the difference. This is before and after. As you can hear, it gets rid of any unwanted noise in between each gap for super tight guitars. To manually gate your guitars, all you have to do is grab the range selection tool, so you can hit 2 on your keyboard, or hit this little cursor icon up here. And then you highlight the section you want to delete, and then hit Control X or Command X if you're on Mac. That'll delete that section. So this sounds pretty good. But we can make it sound more natural by adding fades. So we're going to highlight these 2 clips and then grab the top right corner to make a fade. We're going to fade out of this note and into this note. So that way we get a ramp down and a ramp up in volume. So that sounds a lot more natural. Now that you know how to manually gate, I'm going to go through and do the rest of these and catch up with you later. Now that everything's manually gated, let's have a listen. Much tighter. We got rid of all the little weird noises in between each chug, any electrical noise, palm scrapes. Everything's just trimmed and proper now. Now the final stage of editing for me, I like to call the fine-tuning stage, where basically I'll go through and listen to anything, and if I need to adjust the fades individually from each other, left to right, then I'll do so. So let's listen through and see if we need to change anything. Okay, right here on the right side, I hear a note sticking out. Let's listen to that again. Just at the very end, I can hear that. So what we're going to do is hit J to turn off snapping, and we're just going to move the right side in a little bit. That pretty much fixed it. We might be able to take it a bit farther. There we go. That got rid of the problem. Let's hear before. And after. So now I'll go through and continue this process and fine-tune any fades that need it. Now that it's fine-tuned, let's listen to it with drums. Now that everything's fine-tuned, we can go ahead and clean up all this mess by highlighting all the clips going up to the top bar where it says audio, and then hitting bounce selection, and then hit replace. What this does is it takes all those little clips and combines them into one big chunk. So it's a lot cleaner to look at. Now that all the editing's done, let's go back and listen to our raw tracks and compare them to our edited tracks. That just goes to show how big of a difference editing can make to your mix. The raw tracks made the mix sound sloppy, unprofessional, amateur, whereas once the guitars were edited, the mix came to life. It sounded punchy and in your face. So this is something you definitely want to take your time on. With that being said, please give this video a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more videos just like this. See you next time.